Oh, hi there, YouTube. Uh, it's Nate here again. And today, I'm going to talk about my 5 favorite books. I read. I'm a huge nerd. I love to read, and I read everything I can get my hands on. I'm also a writer, and you can't write if you don't read. Uh, these are the 6 books I love the most, and they're arranged in no particular order. The first 2 are books that changed my life. I know that sounds cliche, but it's the truth. When I was 14, I got really big into socialism, and I mean really big. I've read several biographies of Marx, Mao, Lenin, Che. I've still got a Che poster on my bedroom wall and a Che t-shirt in my closet. Ah, the innocence of youth. I can still rattle off alt-left talking points with the best of the useful idiots. And these first 2 books helped to shatter my faith in the cult of big government and ended up pushing me toward the alternative right, though the authors would probably be rolling over in their graves if they heard that. First off is Edward Abbey's The Monkey Wrench Gang. The Monkey Wrench Gang is a hilarious novel about a motley crew of American misfits, a billboard-burning doctor, a New York feminist, a Mormon wilderness guide, and a Green Beret Vietnam vet who roam around the American Southwest committing wanton acts of eco-sabotage. It's beautifully written, and as I said, it's hilarious. Most people dismiss it as a lot of tree-hugging claptrap, which it is, and say that it's just an eco-terrorism manual disguised as a comedy. They've got it backwards. It's a comedy disguised as an eco-terrorism manual. Ed Abbey was always really frustrated that people who criticized the Monkey Wrench Gang always did so from a political standpoint and never from a literary one, always talking about the political points and the environmentalist points and questioning the morality of listing step-by-step instructions on how to sabotage oil rigs and road crews while completely disregarding the beautiful dialogue, the wonderful prose and the hilarious dialogue. What I took away from this book was the age-old story of the struggle of the individuals against the state and the established order. And of course the dialogue and the characterizations are just amazing. Next is George Orwell's Homage to Catalonia. Everything of Orwell's that I've read has touched me in some way, and he is an incredible writer. I think it was Homage to Catalonia that really and truly broke me away from the cult of big government. It's a chronicle of George Orwell's service on the Republican side of the Spanish Civil War in the 30s, and it talks about Orwell's experiences serving in a free and voluntary army, fighting against fascism, and dealing with persecution from the same government that he was fighting for. It's got a lot of great stuff on government incompetence and the effectiveness of voluntary association. And it's Orwell, so of course it's amazing. That kind of goes without saying. That's his goddamn wood tip. Uh, the cigars with the wood tips cost a lot more, but the ones with the plastic tips, they taste like a garden hose when they get real short. So been so I took the stogie out of one of the wood tips, and I've been buying the plastic tips and taking the plastic off and putting them in the wood tip, and it's starting to get worn down, and I'm getting splinters in my lungs. That's probably bad for you. Next on the list is Beowulf. Crom, where do I start? I could talk for hours about why Beowulf is great and why I love it so much. Someday I probably will, but that's beyond the scope of this video. Suffice to say that Beowulf is a beautiful poem that tells an amazing story and merits serious study. I've tried to use it as an example to live my life by. That should tell you something about how much I love this book. I've read it in 4 different translations, and Seamus Heaney's is my favorite. But I'm trying to teach myself Old English by translating poetry, and I think that you can't really appreciate it unless you've read it in the original, which is just amazing. Anglo-Saxon poetry is beautiful. Next is the poetry of Scotland's national poet, Robert Burns. I was first exposed to Robert Burns in my 9th grade English class, and I was hooked right from the start. Burns is a real master of the English language, and his poems and songs are incredible. He's very much my favorite poet, and rather than pontificate about him, I'm going to let his work speak for itself. Farewell to all our Scottish fame, farewell our ancient glory, farewell even to the Scottish name, sae famed in martial story. Now Sark rins o'er the Solway sands, and Tweed rins tae the ocean, to mark where England's province stands, such a parcel of rogues in a nation. What force or guile could not subdue through many warlike ages, is wrought now by a coward few for hireling traitors' wages. The English still we could disdain, secure in valor's station, but English gold has been our bane, such a parcel of rogues in a nation. Oh, would or I had seen the day that treason thus could sell us. My old grey beard had lain in clay with Bruce and loyal Wallace. But pith and power till my last hour, I'll make this declaration. We're bought and sold for English gold, such a parcel of rogues in a nation. Lastly is Egil's Saga. Egil's Saga is one of the pseudo-historical Icelandic sagas credited to Snorri Sturluson, who also wrote the Poetic Edda and the Heimskringla, the history of the kings of Norway. Egil's Saga is it deals with a blood feud between 2 Norwegian families. And it's my favorite out of all the sagas because Egil Skallagrimsson is such a wonderfully complex character. Like, he'll commit startling acts of brutality and then turn around and recite some of the most beautiful poetry of the whole Viking Age, which was an age of some pretty bitchin' poetry. It's also a very deep story that deals with everything from a father losing his sons to 2 brothers loving the same woman. And I love it, and if you're going to read anything on this list, read Egil's Saga. And, well, those are my 5 favorite books. Well, I guess 4 favorite books and 1 favorite poet. Well, that's all I got today. what? Wish through hall, and I'll catch y'all on the flip flop.